I hope you are all doing fine.
Yeah.
Very good. So you are welcome. Today our topic is going to be interview. But before we go further, who can tell me his or her understanding of what interview is? Yes, Fabio Jam. Can you tell us what you understand by the word interview?
Based on my understanding, interview is a professional conversation that a journalist has with a source.
Good, good. Who else can add on top of that? Yes, Ismail.
Okay, interview, from my understanding, is conducted by journalists. During that interview, there are two people involved, the interviewer and interviewee. So during that interview, we have two, the interviewer will ask the interviewee some questions regarding to the topic or the issue he wants to talk about. So
Good.
Yes.
And I'm seeing it's a vast hand.
Yes.
Yes.
That means we are journalists extract information from their sources.
Good.
Yes.
Good point. Who else can add? Aminata Ba.
An interview is where a journalist seeks let's say, information from the source where a question and answer session is being conducted.
Very good. Balde.
Yeah, interview is a professional discussion between a journalist and a source where a particular topic is tabled before the two and the discussion, let's say ideas and clear doubts.
Good. Good. I have very smart students in this class. Who else can add on what these speakers have said? Okay. Cham.
Yeah, you can also say interview is the root source of a news story.
Yeah, it is the root source. Because without it, there is no story. Okay? Okay, let's move, let's go ahead. So interview actually means, because remember we did talk about what? Sources. So if we want to get information from our sources, what do? We have to conduct interview. So interview is like a gateway to access information. Very good. Okay, so today is going to be our topic. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Good. But I will first expose you to my lesson objectives. Every teacher must have a lesson objective or learning objectives. So at the end of the lesson objectives, students should be able to define what? Interview, state why they are important, and be able to conduct interviews successfully. Remember, as a journalist, you have to master the art of interview. If you don't master this art, well, you cannot be called a professional journalist. Is that clear? Because this is your most important tool. Your most important weapon is how to conduct a successful interview. Is that clear? Okay. Now it says, what is a journalistic interview? A journalistic interview is a social or a special kind of conversation between a journalist and a person who has facts or opinions which are likely to be useful. Now I'm going to throw back this point to you. Who can explain this to us? Who can explain this to the class for everybody to comprehend fully? It says a journalistic interview is a social kind of conversation between a journalist and a person who has facts or opinions which are likely to be useful. Yes, Valerie.
In this case, not every conversation can be newsworthy, because in this case, the conversation that you are having with that particular person must fall within the criteria of news. For example, like when you had a rumor about sand mining in Sanya, and there's a particular guy or the alcalde of Sanya who have more experience and know why and how the mining is taking place there. It is better that the journalist to go there and discuss with the person, the alcalde particularly, to gain information, root cause of why the mining center, how are they processing it, how the things are going there. Because not everybody who have the idea can tell you the facts. You may have ideas, but you don't have the facts. So for the alcalde in this case can be the person who will give you the facts, because he or she is the head of the village or that particular area. And that guy will be standing in a position to give you the ideas, the information that will meet the criteria that are of public interest. Like in this case, the alcalde will tell you how people are mining there, whether it is legal or illegal. And in this process, whether those mining, obtain the right documents that need to be that guarantee them to operate in that area. I believe in this case it is very important that any discourse, not all discussions or conversation can be newsworthy, but conversation that falls within the criteria of news can be newsworthy. And it is the duties and responsibility of the journalist to understand these are conversations. You may have conversation with someone whose mind is not stable. You know, that person can have idea of something newsworthy, but how to frame it will be a difficult thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bale. Who else wants to add? Yeah, Esaba.
Yes, like that word that is very important, special conversation, because you can have any type of conversation within among ourselves. So in interview is where you are up primarily for a specific issue on a specific topic to have a specific information about a specific issue. So I think this is where a journalist and an individual have a discussion on something important that is newsworthy.
Good.
It can be
good.
facts or opinions of the individual.
Very good, very good. So that is quite right. So a journalistic interview is a special kind of conversation between a journalist and a person who has facts. So you follow those with facts or with opinions. But those facts or those opinions, they have to be newsworthy. Don't interview somebody who will provide you with an information that is not even necessary to be published or broadcast for public concern. Don't go in for those kind of interviews, okay? So go for the person that will give you facts, and those facts will give you a very interesting and catchy headline, and of course a story, which will grab people's attention. I hope that is clear. Good. So the second point says what? News involves people. News is about people. But sometimes it may be about animals, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wild animals, how they live in the jungle. Sometimes it can be about the environment. But remember, the environment also has direct impact on us. Like the Antarctic. You know the Antarctic?
Antarctica.
Yeah.
Antarctica and the North Pole, those experiences in there.
Exactly. The coldest, area of this earth. Usually it is frozen. But do you know something is happening there that is newsworthy?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Some of these vehicles on the street sometimes they get frozen to an extent that they might not be accessible. Or some of them use hammers to break their doors if they want to go out. So in that case, sometimes they call the fire rescue service to come and help you to go out.
Okay. And another thing is what?
And
The
what-
melting of those what? Of those
Gracias.
glaciers. They are melting seriously. And now they are attributing them to what? Global warming or climate change. One can do a story about it. Because at the end of the day, it has direct impact on people, isn't it? Because once those glaciers start to melt, what will happen is it will lead to what? Sea level rise, and that will cause what? Flood, especially those that live around the coast.
And even the mountaineers sometimes experience it.
They experience it.
Yeah.
You know, so in that regard, it may not be about people, but it's about the environment. But again, it has direct impact on us. Is that clear? But usually news is about people. It's about politicians so and so responding to another politician, Donald Trump, doing that, Hussein Dabo, responding to Halifa Saleh, or NPP, planning to form an alliance with APRC, stuff like that. It's about people. Okay? An individual raping a young girl, or a man raping a young girl. So these are things that involve, or these things involve people, and that is why it is stated that news involves people. So then the third point is what? Whatever news story you are researching, there will be a person or some people who know what you need to know or who has relevant information. Again, I'm going to throw this question to you. Instead of me doing the explanation, I want you to intervene and tell me what exactly does this point trying to portray.
Yes, I think this one boils down to our last topic on where we are talking about sources. You understand? Like every news story, has the right people to act on. Example, if you are doing a story on students drop out, understand? as to what are the reasons of student dropout and the consequences that they have in society. It's good that you interview parents, students and parents of students who have dropped out. It's also good that you interview a principal as to what he thinks are the causes for students to drop out. So I think this one is every topic that you choose or every angle that you want to work on, there are the right people that you should interview.
And those are the people with what? Relevant
Information.
that will make your story news worth.
Yes.
Okay, who has anything to add on what Esa just said?
I think
Yes.
it's talking about the experts in general.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
every news story has an expert that knows about the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite right.
And
Quite right.
also the case sources.
The case sources, they may have an information
Yeah.
to what? To release.
Yes.
Okay? And you as the journalist, you need to approach those people. They have very interesting stories to say. Imagine a case source that have experienced rape. A case source that experienced robbery, for instance, was robbed. That person has something very interesting to narrate, isn't it? And they are the right people to approach in order for you as the journalist to obtain relevant information, which you will end up, giving the public. Okay? Who has anything to say? Or should we proceed? Yeah, so to the final point on this one, it says they will usually be happy to tell you. Yeah, those people with these informations, who have knowledge of what you are looking for, they will be happy to share what they have in mind, isn't it? Yeah, they want to share with you maybe their experience, their troubles, their success stories, if that is what you're looking for. Okay? Yeah. And going further, this one is about speaking and listening in interview. But before we start, who can tell me why is speaking? What is speaking? What is listening in interviewing? Yes, Ismail.
Now speaking, if during interview, if you ask a question to your interviewee, he might be saying something so relevant. For in order for you to know what he or she is talking about, so you have to give attention to the individual about the topic he or she is talking about, in order to have a clear understanding about the issue. But if he is talking at the same time, you are also asking questions. There might be no means of communication. You might not understand.
Very well, very well. Good. And then, when you as the journalist ask questions, you have to listen. Because from that answer he is providing you, when you listen, you can ask what? Follow-up questions. If you don't listen well, will you be able to ask follow-up questions?
No.
Or when he or she is talking, answering your question, you are thinking about what is happening in Banjul. Your mind is somewhere in Birkama or at the college.
What a party.
At a party, will you be able to ask follow-up questions?
No.
No. Because you are not listening. You are thinking something. You've already asked the guy or the gentleman or the lady a very relevant question, but you are not focused. Okay, so that's why it's very important for us to implement these things when we are conducting interviews. We have to speak, yes, and then we also have to listen very well. And that's why the first point says what? Both the interviewee and interviewer are involved in speaking and listening. Okay? They all speak and they all listen. Is that clear? Yes. So I think that is where we're going to end the interview. This particular video that I've just made or I'm making is a requirement for my course at the International Open University, IOU, where I'm studying education. So what I'm doing is teaching practice. And I want to thank you all for making my presentation